Palestinians should have freedom to move, leave, stay, and return to their own homes, places of worship, and business. This basic human right necessitates that Palestinians should be able to move within Palestine without racial or religious filtering, interrogation, militarized borders, and deportation. All Palestinian people should have the right to return to their homeland.
Right, and the revised opening statement of the president, the boss. So you didn't miss a whole lot. I just chatted for a while until we could get back into shape. But this is the substantive part. So can you go on, please?
Yes, sir. All right.
What?
Call for the freedom of all Palestinians. Israel's illegal occupation and colonization of the occupied Palestine territory must end, and apartheid politics must cease. Policies or politics. Would that be better? Is that worse?
What did you say?
Did I write apartheid politics?
That's what I see, apartheid politics.
Okay.
Oh.
I feel like it should be policies. Is that something you concur with?
And apartheid policy, yeah, that's probably better.
Okay. Wasn't sure if I was hallucinating or if it was no.
Well, you may have been hallucinating. Yeah, I think policies would work better.
Okay. We demand the right to move freely and to live where we choose. As the indigenous people of Palestine, we are entitled to full freedom on our land, freedom that is oppressed by the occupation of East Jerusalem and the blockade against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. What is happening to us in...
That's supposed to be is, or are you taking a psychology class and it got in there?
What is happening to us?
Are you going to do ego and super ego too, or? Sorry.
Okay.
I started talking psychobabble.
Okay.
Sorry.
I'll change that.
Okay.
What is happening to us is settler colonialism, the same as what the United States of America did to the indigenous peoples of North America. The end of these atrocities is a prerequisite in the Palestinian dream of freedom. Palestinians demand the right to live full lives, ones free from Israeli domination. We have the right to live with safety, dignity, and thrive. We demand the termination of Israel's structured violence and systematic destruction of Palestinian lives and livelihoods. We don't want to subsist off handouts. We want our freedom to be built on a liberated society full of respect for our right to justice and free of classism, patriarchy, homophobia, racism, and bigotry in all forms. Without the ability to exercise agency and live in stability and safety, it is impossible for Palestinians to thrive. We demand the right to resist oppression and to live without fear of being politically persecuted when exercising that right. The ability to do this means we should be free to organize our communities in pursuit of justice and liberation while exerting agency and our right to assembly.
Probably supposed to be a column there.
I think
or
so.
a comma, excuse me, right to assembly comma.
Yeah, that's odd. Fix that.
That's a minor thing.
We demand an end to the illegal legislation denying the rights of our friends and supporters to insist on the boycott, disenfranchise, and sanction movement. Should I have those capitalized?
Probably a good idea. And then what you could do in parentheses, put BDSM.
Okay, I will do that. The suppression of human rights should not be tolerated no matter where in the world it is occurring. So the people of Palestine refuse to stand quietly by and allow the world to decide whether to help us or not. We uplift these demands of our people across the globe for full justice.
And then at the end, you had some questions.
Yes. Do I need a formal conclusion? And should I mention the policies of our people on the Golan Heights, the West Bank, Gaza Strip, and Jerusalem?
Well, I can't remember now, but was Jerusalem in here?
No, I did not mention Jerusalem.
Well, you do
I
have to think
mentioned
about
how
the-
there is the occupation piece, but
There is a line about pressed by the occupation of East Jerusalem.
yes,
Um,
but I didn't say anything about it being the capital or.
Yeah, I think maybe you could work in where you do bring up East Jerusalem in that third paragraph about that Jerusalem is a holy city, and I would tell the United States to move their embassy out because we regard Jerusalem as the capital of Palestine. And then on the Golan Heights, which Israel seized, and the United States recognized their right to take it to protect themselves from Syria. Maybe, again, I don't know where you work that in. Maybe you can work it in that paragraph you have about Jerusalem, because you do bring up the Gaza Strip. Maybe that's where you could, point out that the Israeli seizure of the Golan Heights backed by the United States is a violation of international law. And then you do have a mention about Gaza Strip, and I don't think you need to go any further on the West Bank. And then for a conclusion, you could just call on the world or say thank you for listening, and we look forward to your support in our progress towards full nationhood or something like that. Repeat that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be okay. Because we're regarding that as the start of the troubles.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I think maybe repeating that. Did you catch that, President Abbas?
I did not.
Megan was suggesting that maybe in the last paragraph, the concluding paragraph, we reiterate our position that the Balfour Declaration, which is the start of all our problems, has to be repudiated.
Okay.
I know you discuss it, but I guess you're suggesting we just make the point.
Yeah, just say like, this is our starting point. If we're working for peace, this is where we need to start.
Yeah, so Megan was saying this was a starting point to achieve peace. So we got to go all the way back 100 years to unearth the mess.
My last question is if I should include the issues that we're trying to solve in the.
Oh, the ones that Dr. Kaufman puts?
You got the issues for each ministry.
No, because the ministries will deal with that stuff.
Okay.
So.
Should I have anything else that would say like, thank you for the ministries of this and that, or
What was that question? I didn't quite understand it.
should I say that each ministry, like we have ministries working on something?
Yeah, well, you could say that following this opening statement, the ministries will now address the issues.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine, because it's in the ministries that we'll get into the actual topics. In the meantime, I think this very clearly states and explains to the other delegations, many of whom will not know much about Palestine or have only the other side. This should get them thinking and questioning, and maybe even, but that's okay. I think you could read this and learn a lot about what's going on over there, at least from the Palestinian side. And, in the world as a whole, sometimes there's a lack of knowledge. And then, any other questions or comments about this?
I have a question about like the simulation itself, if that's okay.
I'm sorry, sure, go ahead.
So the other students at the other colleges are preparing opening statements like this, right? Are we going to be reviewing those in class, just like we're going over this one?
Yeah, once they start posting, I should be able, and I gotta figure out No, but I can get on the computer here and, put it up. My only question will be how to do that in concert with YouTube public, but it should be just like me putting something on the camera.
Okay. And then once we do that, what's our responsibility after that? Do we like prepare a response to each opening statement?
Well, usually once the opening statements go up, I ask us to start thinking about questions to ask them about what they're putting forward, or we might object. But the other thing we got to do is start looking for allies. And in the simulation, you can send public and private messages. So you can send a message to all to set up. The break schedule messes up. For whatever reason, your college, I suppose it's mine because I work there, will not put the break in the middle of the semester where it belongs. They insist on putting it near Easter. The rest of the world goes on when we're on break, and we go on when just about everybody else is on break. And I kept saying to college, look, for those of us who are doing stuff outside of this college, we run into a problem, and I have for 34 years in the program. I said, besides, if you want to take a break, don't go at Easter time. That's when the prices go up. Do it in March when the prices are low. But even during the break, if you're so inclined and you got some time, you can go into the website and check things out. This is going to be to, quote, solve this problem. And then the ministries can come up with proposals specific to economics and trade. This isn't, fake stuff. And what we're trying to do with the simulation is to, as best as we can, in a short period of time, replicate the real world. And it gets that way after a while. So, did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
And in the meantime, I'll work on making you guys confrontational.
Yeah.
I had a city planning commission meeting yesterday and it went on for over 2 hours, and I'm the chairman, so and there's this one lawyer. I mean, we've been going at it on this project for 2 years. I have the support of the other members, but we have to certainly be confrontational. There were 2 women council members from the city of Jamestown. We're more than confrontational, so they good for them. Anything else on President Abbas's opening statement? Anything else from you, President Abbas?
No, I'll get to work on those things right away.
Okay, great.
When would you like the finished copy?
Was that a who or a when? I didn't catch that.
When do you want to see it?
As soon as you can.
Okay.
I'm leaving it kind of open-ended because we're hoping to have maybe 2 of the ministries on Friday.
All right.
So sooner you get it to me, the better, because I'm sure you got other things to do too. Probably. I'm sure you got other classes.
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things you asked you got that question about the Gaza Strip, and in the time remaining, I wanted to go, this is an article from that same issue with the shoe and President Trump. And some of this stuff might be helpful to the ministries, if I can pull it back. So it's a regular feature called Gaza on the Ground, and this one starts out by saying Gaza's health system is collapsing. Where's that headline? And because this is talking about health, what do you think is the other big health issues that's dominating the headlines?
The coronavirus.
Yeah, the coronavirus, and that's serious. But this article is saying, yeah, we understand that's serious, but why isn't anybody writing about Gaza, which is even more serious? And the article is good because then it goes into other issues related to the simulation. And it's the caption here, if you can't read it carefully, says, a Palestinian doctor treats a child at a UN RWA-1 clinic in Al-Nusrat refugee camp in the Gaza Strip. In January 17, 2018, after the White House froze tens of millions of dollars in contributions. So they cut off aid to hospitals and clinics, and obviously they're tugging at your heartstrings by showing, this is affecting cute little kids. And it does talk about the coronavirus. Saying, well, yes, that should get attention, but that's new. What about this ongoing problem that we're having? I'm going to make it bigger, obviously. So the coronavirus is capturing headlines around the world. One headline you'll never see is that measles, the once common and sometimes deadly high contagious childhood infection, is making a comeback in Gaza. Now, when I was a kid, measles was still a problem in the 50s, and I got vaccinated, but it's starting to come back, and it's coming back in Gaza. The viral disease remains one of the leading causes of death among young children globally, despite the availability of safe and effective vaccines. The World Health Organization, which is a specialized agency of the UN, and is typically regarded as the best UN agency, reported a total of 124 confirmed cases of measles, including 2 deaths in the Gaza Strip from December 2019 to January 1st, 2020. Now, measles, for the most part, is completely under control in the United States, except you got these people now who don't want to get their kids vaccinated, which I think is very strange. And now it's starting to make a comeback in the United States, too. But of those confirmed cases, 49 required hospitalization, 12 were healthcare workers, and 57 had not been vaccinated. WHO is working along with Gaza hospitals to deliver vaccines to a population of 2 million Gazans if they have no proof of vaccination or immunity against measles. A few months later, those confirmed cases include 57 unvaccinated infants between 6 months to 1 year olds, as well as 29 people older than 30. And I'm going to move this over to the other side. Between 2009 and 18, 97% of Gazans had received both doses of the MMR vaccine, and only one Gazan caught the measles from 86 to 2000. Now the disease is coming back to densely populated Gaza, causing growing concern that it could go viral if vaccines are not provided immediately. Nasser Al-Amran, 13, was one of many students recently lining up for his measles vaccine in Gaza schools. Health authorities in the Gaza Strip began MMR vaccination of all healthcare workers in 4 public hospitals where measles cases were admitted and treated. An estimated 900 healthcare workers were vaccinated in 2019. The rise in confirmed cases of measles exacerbates a rapidly deteriorating public health situation in the Gaza Strip. The Trump's administration 2018 decision to cut more than $200 million in aid has drastically affected basic health services, especially in Gaza, where healthcare services have dropped by 90%, according to a UNICEF report. Gaza's infrastructure has been badly damaged by repeated Israeli attacks, and the Strip lacks clean water and nutritional food for all its inhabitants. At some point, that place is going to explode again. Are facing a humanitarian crisis. Sorry about this. And among them, he said, whoops, I went to the wrong one. Hang on. An estimated 348 million is urgently needed to provide life-saving assistance to the most vulnerable. The UN has recently launched a 2020 humanitarian response plan aiming to assist 1.5 million people, mostly residents of Gaza who are already in dire straits. The UN's humanitarian coordinator for occupied Palestinian territory, Jamie McGoldrick, said, nearly half of Gaza's population is unemployed. So the unemployment rate is 50%. Anybody know what it is in the United States right now?
It's under 10%, right?
Yeah, it's way under 10%.
Like 2 or 3.
Well, maybe like 4, but some of that is what we call frictional unemployment, where people are changing jobs. And in this area, it might be about 6% or 7%, and we get all worried. This is half. That's a prescription for trouble. That figure includes 7 out of 10 young people under age 30 who have no jobs. So that's 70%. Among them, he said, are more than 400,000 university graduates who cannot find jobs. Lack of jobs is causing frustration among the youth of Gaza. I'm losing hope in humanity, says 34-year-old Bilal Al-Mukhier, who hoped to marry the girl he loves, but her parents want a son-in-law who can earn his living. Now he's got an engineering degree. My engineering degree is worth nothing, he adds, as he applies for jobs. Like many, he can neither leave Gaza nor find a job in Gaza. He's not allowed to leave permanently. He's not allowed to leave even daily to get a job. Well, Goldberg said the health system is on the verge of collapse. The situation is compounded by households are short of even basic foods. Living in Gaza is like a perpetual trauma, noted the French group Médecins Sans Frontières. That's why when you asked about Gaza, I thought that was an excellent question. The situation in Gaza is just beyond horrible. 60% of the people don't have food. 7 out of 10 young people can't find jobs. You know, I'd start throwing stones at the Israelis too, or anybody else. The UN is not receiving the much needed funds to cope with and to prevent more humanitarian crises. Goldberg said the largest portion of money from the appeal must first go to food, then clean drinking water and sanitation. Goldberg said the appeal is both addressing these needs and restoring dignity to people's lives. Unfortunately, however, the response from donors has not been adequate. Now, for the Environment Ministry, there's an excellent subpart here about herbicide and what it's doing. So it's very particular, and we're probably going to run out of time. We can look at this on Friday. And then the other thing for the Human Rights Ministry is Israel blocking people from taking jobs outside of Gaza. Excuse me. So I think for the Environment Ministry and the Human Rights Ministry, these other two parts are particularly helpful, and we can look at that on Scroll Friday. But again, because the current issue, the situation in Gaza is beyond horrible, which means at some point there's going to be another explosion, and they'll try to fight against the Israelis, and then the Israelis will say, well, we got to shoot back. And I'm thinking, yeah, but if I was living there, I'd be throwing stones. And the article's saying, why isn't the world talking about this? We should talk about the coronavirus, but the coronavirus is affecting China and major players. Meanwhile, this is being ignored, even though it's beyond. You guys are going to be addressing the questions that Dr. Kaufman brings up. We can still push in there our own particular perspective on Palestine. And at some point, I'll get you, for environment and human rights, I'll get you a copy of this page because it's so good. All right, and then we'll look at some of those opening statements on Swell Friday. Sorry about the technical problems.
I'll see if there's anything I can add to that, like maybe I'll look at it again and then I'll look again around.
All right, no problem. For Jamestown people, right now